Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
I have a thought for the day to start off this week. The United States, sadly, is third in murders throughout the world. But if you take out Chicago, Detroit, Washington, D.C., and New Orleans, the United States is fourth from the bottom for murders. And, oh, by the way, those four cities that I mentioned also have the toughest gun control laws in the United States. Does that tell you anything? Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. Thank you very much, and welcome to Zeb at the Ranch as we wrap up the month of July, the next couple of days. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell. Good morning, and our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Center, serving you all 7 great locations, along with some of our great advertisers that include Lease Furniture, Floors, and more at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call 734-6969. And without further ado, we say good morning to a lady that just had more fun, I think, than her child did down at Lagoon. And I just got a text, and today is also your brother's birthday.
It is. He's officially older than me now. He's officially older than you. Yeah, my brother and I are 10 months apart in our birthdays, so there's a 2-month period of the year where him and I are the same age, so now he's officially older, so happy birthday, brother.
How old is he?
42.
Oh, my goodness. Does he have a cane? Does he have a walker? Does he...
I'm going to get those. I asked him this morning after I sang him happy birthday if all of the gray hairs are popping out all over his body.
I'll tell you what, sing him a happy birthday real quick.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sean. Happy birthday to you.
Holy smokes. Shades of Marilyn Monroe.
Yep.
Hey, great. Do we have a pledger?
We have Al on for the pledge and Michael on for the weather.
Sounds good to me. Good morning, my dear friend Al.
Good morning, Mr. Bell.
Yes, sir. What is happening with you? Please give us the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, by the way, real quick, Al, short comment on this because I got to get Michael on, but did you hear about the flap about the firefighters in New York City and the American flag after 9/11?
No, I heard some of it, but I pretty well try to forget that because, But what I'd like to tell Mr. Obama, phony scandals my hind end. You're the biggest phony in that office, and I refuse to call you Mr. President.
Amen.
Straighten up your act.
I couldn't agree more.
Go home.
Couldn't agree more. And thank you, Al, as always. I appreciate your candid remarks. Thank you, sir.
Have a good one.
All right, sir. Hey, it's time for the weather, and it's brought to you by Rock Creek Growers on the corner of Maxine Lane and Irene Streets in Kimberly. And don't forget, the hot weather, water your plants every day. And don't forget, too, they got all the shrubs and the bushes and the trees, everything at Rock Creek Growers for the beautification of your property. And right now, here's the best weatherman in the world, Michael Rogers Weather. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Instead of a ransacking week of you and me in the same weather we had last week, it's going to be pretty good. Sunny and hot. 92 for the high for today. Check this out. 92 for the high today, 94 tomorrow, 96 on Wednesday. There is a lovable low brewing out in the Pacific Ocean, but right now we're not going to see that. So enjoy the middle of the week. Enjoy the first part of the week. and enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you've got.
There is, honestly, the best weatherman in the world. Michael Rogers Weather, right here on Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you by Rock Creek Growers, corner of Maxine Lane and Irene Streets in Kimberly. All your plants, all your shrubs, trees, bushes, everything, your decorative pots, whatever you need, it's at Rock Creek Growers. Stop in and see them today in Kimberly, Rock Creek Growers. Oh my, we got a lot of things to talk about, and we've got fair season starting today. We've got to advertise for the Jerome and the Cassia County fairs. We've got everything coming up. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to be getting to that information in just a minute. By the way, to my dear friend Jimmy Flowers, if you're listening and you didn't see it in the newspaper yesterday, the parade section of the paper had, that little magazine called The Parade, had a complete cover story about the Duck Dynasty, the Robertson family, and it was very, very interesting. So, Jimmy, you got me hooked on that television show, Duck Dynasty and the Robertson family, and more later, I'm sure. Caller, I'll be right with you. Do not go away. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Oh, my goodness, they can clean anything. Any spot that you need taken out, they can get rid of it. You know, all the stains and everything, and they can clean your drapes, and oh, my goodness, they do a wonderful job. And all you have to do is just stop in and see them. Take your clothes in all rumply and crumply and get them back looking brand spanking new. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Stop in and see them today. And real fast, I want to remind you, too, that we're on SafeLink Internet. And we thank the good Lord above that we've had that service. Great high-speed wireless internet that's done a fantastic job for us, and their service has been impeccable. Believe me, call 677-8000 over in Rupert. SafeLink Internet with Shane and the rest of the crew serving you. Call them today. High-speed wireless internet. Get the job done for you, your home, your business. SafeLink Internet. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
In the mail the other day, I received a letter from the Republican Party, and stamped on it in big, huge letters, it said, past due.
Oh, Keith.
So I opened it up.
Yeah.
And they said, you owe us $50, your membership is past due. Since when are donations past due?
Keith, you hit a subject this morning, and I am so glad that you mentioned this, and I'm going to touch on it quickly because I got a whole bunch of things to do. I also received one of those envelopes. Now, number one, I'm going to tell you this and see if you agree. It offended me to the point where I'm going to send it back, and I'm going to let them know in no uncertain terms at the Republican Party that you do not send anything in the mail that is past due. That's an inflection and a reflection on your personality, your business, etc., and other people, whether it's the local mail carriers or anybody else, is going to think that you're a deadbeat that's trying not to pay a bill. And I'm offended by that saying past due on the outside of that envelope.
Amen, brother, because I called them on their 800 number that's on that letter. And I talked to a gal who's just a messenger, I'm sure. But I told her, I said, I want you to relate this to the people you report to, that I'm not going to pay this until I see something for my money.
Yeah, amen. And I'll tell you something else. To put that on the outside of an envelope is a derogatory inference that the general public that sees that with the mail of people and everybody else, the postal carriers, etc., thinking that you're kind of a deadbeat on a bill. And I found that very offensive. And if the Republican Party is that dumb to send out something that says past due on it, they're hurting their relationship with people that might be contributors. Because I will not contribute now because of their stupidity.
I will not either. But on the other hand, on the local level, we've got some good people in there now, and with the exception of Mike, you know who. But I will support these people, and I'd rather give them the $50 than I would to send it to somebody who's just going to party on it.
Amen. Keith, I really honestly appreciate you bringing that up this morning because it was a subject that I also wanted to mention. So thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Goodbye.
All right, sir. Keith is 100% right. That I got one of those also. And right on the outside of that envelope from the Republican Party, it said past due. Now, that's a reflection that maybe I had not paid a bill, that maybe I hadn't met an obligation to take care of something that I owed, and it isn't. It was just nothing more than a solicitation of more money for the party. But when you put past due on an envelope like that, I'll guarantee you, and I'm critical of both, the Democrats and the Republicans, and how they run their respective parties. This was stupid and very lame for the Republican Party to do that. And I'm criticizing them right now. Not smart. Very, very juvenile in their actions. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Oh, hello, Keith. How are you? 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The number to call, 678-0459. And if you need to call, they can have your order already on the counter, and you just zip in, get it, and you're gone. That's right. They're there to serve you, and they have been for over 57 years in business with all your electrical needs. So please get a hold of them today, 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by, but I also want to remind you that we are in the midst now of getting ready for fair season, and at Valley White Home and Ranch at 910 South Oneida in Rupert, they've got everything you need. All the halters and the show sticks and all the shampoos for your livestock and all the fan blowers for the livestock, all the clothing for the fair, everything, and especially all your feed needs. I mean, everything you need, all your shavings for the stalls. Wow. It's all there at Valley White Home and Ranch, along with a staff that really knows their business. Serving you, Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb Bell.
Yes, sir.
And I, too, received one of those silly, ridiculous, beyond words. No wonder we've got problems in Washington with the Republican Party like that.
What were your thoughts?
I pay my bills, but a donation is voluntary.
That's exactly right. What were your thoughts?
One whit.
What were your thoughts, sir, when you received that envelope and it said past due? What were your first initial thoughts?
My first thought was, I must have overlooked something. It was. I take pride in my bills are all paid, always, and you know, in fact, I have a business background 40 years ago, in which I was a manager in a finance company. I know about bills, I know about collections, and that to me, that past due is a violation of our privacy rights.
You know, I looked at it the same way you did, sir, and I was very much offended. And anybody that listens to this program knows that when there needs to be a slap in the face, I'm going to provide that slap in the face to whether it's the Democrats or the Republicans. And in this case, with the Republican Party being so stupid with an advertising campaign trying to solicit money by putting past due on the envelope, they need to have that slap in the face, and I hope they suffer for it.
And they will, because I know that along with you and I and Keith and the other folks, any intelligent, level-thinking person doesn't deal with skullduggery like that. That's one of our problems. We got to get somebody to stand up. That's why I'm so still sad that we lost out on Mitt Romney, because I think we could have really made some real progress there. Not that the Republicans are the only way that he could get in, but I will not ever, I can say this truthfully, donate another dime to the Republican Party.
There you go, sir. I appreciate your call.
They defamed me. They sent me derogatory mail. And so no more donation to somebody. You don't bite the hand that feeds you.
There you go. Sir, you summed it up.
Zeb, I know, just real quick, our friend Al.
Yes,
Al
sir.
Butler.
Yes, sir.
Can he clear up clear up his stand on Obama a little bit. He left the waters a little muddy. I just need a little clarity there. And I'm an old Air Force guy. I proudly served 1955 to 1959 United States Air Force. Well, and I did a stint over in the Philippine Islands, and I'm bragging because I'm proud to serve my country and everything. But I was lucky; it was peacetime.
Amen.
Other than the Chinese communists, and that stuff going on behind the back.
Amen.
Peacetime. So,
all right.
And God bless every one of our. I've got a grandson now that joined the Army, and I'm so proud of him. I can't tell you how proud I am.
All right.
To serve the United States of America and our wonderful flag.
Amen.
God bless you and your program, and we got your back.
All right, sir. You are something special. Thank you so much for your remarks. I appreciate that.
And God bless you and your listeners.
God bless you, sir. Bye. That was nice. And, and that was a tribute to Al, because Al lets you know exactly how he feels, and I respect that. Caller, I'll be right with you. Don't go away. I want to talk a little bit about our friends at Northwest Seed Company. Yes, as a matter of fact, Hazelton, Idaho, and the sales representative, Greg Stanger, 329-0097. 329-0097. For all your seed needs, get a hold of Northwest Seed Company. And we've been telling you about the Eureka seeds and the Whitney alfalfa seed through Eureka. Absolutely the best. Excellent potential for high-quality hay. Dark, rich, green color, excellent visual appeal, and hay is a very important and high-priced commodity right now. You better check it out and grow the best. Whitney's variety of alfalfa from Eureka Seeds through our friends at Northwest Seed Company, 329-0097. You call them today, helping America grow. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, you need to send them letters back. Representation past due. Please respond.
Sir, I love it. I love it. And quite frankly, you have hit the nail on the head. I am not at all above looking at the Republican Party and their pitfalls and their shortfalls. And quite frankly, they better start showing some backbone. They better start showing some leadership. They better start showing some moxie for their constituents, because right now they have fallen in the ditch, and they're like that commercial, "Help, I've fallen and I can't get up."
Yeah, they went so far that they don't know how to get up.
Now, when you say that, let's be really fair and clear here. What do you expect them to do to take over a leadership role, and how do they go about doing it? Give me an answer real quick.
The best thing to do is just start doing what the Constitution says and get rid of this goddamn immigration bill and go after Obama the way they should.
Now, I agree with you, but now let me ask you a question, sir, because it's very important. Did you hear or did you read the remarks by Iowa Congressman Steve King in regards to how he's being chastised by fellow Republicans and Democrats over his remarks about illegal aliens? Did you read that over the weekend?
No, I didn't get to see that.
Well, in a nutshell, let me just say this. In a nutshell, let me give you what he said. He was very open, he was very blunt, and he was very honest about illegal aliens coming into this country and reaping the benefit of our tax-paying money on the form of Medicare, Social Security, etc. And he told it like it was, and the Republicans and the Democrats chewed him out because he wasn't politically correct. And quite frankly, I think the man should be heralded as a leader that tells it like it is.
Well, I think so too. I think maybe we ought to get the justice system in here and let them know that this is constitutionally incorrect.
Amen. And as far as the Republicans and that sending the past due notices, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's ridiculous.
Thank you. God bless you for your call.
Their representation is way past due.
Amen. Very well stated, sir. Thank you so much. I appreciate your call. I don't think anybody could have summed it up better than that man did just a moment ago. Yeah, your representation is past due, not our money. Yeah, let's get together and start doing something for what we're paying you to do back in Washington. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We had a wonderful Zeb's Lunch Bunch at JB's last Thursday. And I just want to say thank you to all the lunch bunchers, and thank you for all your patience. I know a lot of you people have to sit in other areas because we're just overflowing there at JB's, and the food's so great, the service is so great. Terry and Daniel, they really care about you being there with us. Thank you. It was just a real God's blessings, and the people are so nice, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of you every month. But boy, I'll tell you what, you will not find any better service anywhere, and the food, like I said, was fantastic at JB's. 136 East 5th North in Burley. JB's. Serving you breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You stop in and see them today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb.
Hello, Tony.
This country depends on what we do with the welfare system, because this is what's going to control our country. If we don't get this under control, if we don't do something about those 11 million people that are going to end up over here, and probably 90% of them will end up on public assistance, this country is finished.
Tony, we can't keep spending. We can't keep taxing. We can't keep the giving away to other people that are not citizens. And Frosty Woldridge said one time on this program, and I adhere to what he said. I agree with it, that we need to have a quota system of people coming in, the legal immigrants that are coming in, let alone shutting the door on illegals until we get our finances and our economy back on track. Why do we keep just absolutely sticking our head in the crocodile's mouth by letting everybody in here illegally and taking advantage of our system?
Well, this is the plan that the Socialist Party has for this country. A one-party system. Get all the voters that you can, give them whatever you can give them, and they'll always vote for the Socialist Party.
Yeah.
And the American people are dumb enough to buy into this thing because they haven't realized what's happening all over the world, especially in Europe.
Well, you know, dumb enough, or maybe the insertion of the word naive enough, or even they've been bought off by this administration into thinking that the government is going to be the panacea for everything. They're going to be the be-all and catch-all and give-all. And we've got so many people with their hand out in this country right now, Tony, I don't think anybody cares anymore.
I don't know, but it better start caring. I can feel the depression coming again. Boy, I went through one of them. I remember it, even as a little kid, and I don't want another one.
Amen, Tony. Thank you so much. God bless you and Mary. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Travel Lube Supply with my old buddy Jim McCall. Yes, sir, 1050 West, 203 south of Hayburn, 438-8730. They got rolls and rolls and rolls and rolls of duct tape over there. I'm telling you. I'm laughing because if it wasn't for duct tape, I don't think a doggone thing would be standing on my place right now. I am the duct tape king of Magic Valley. Well, they got all your duct tape, and they got everything over there that you need, and they're having a closeout on small engine Honda parts, and of course they got the Bubba ropes. They got all kinds of Bubba ropes. All you have to do is just check it out. Travel Lube Supply, 438-8730 at Jim McCall's farm. You better believe it, mighty fine people. It is time now for the Capital Press Ag Minute, and brought to you by Pacific Steel and Recycling, 320 West Main in Burley. We will be right back after this good word.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly.
Japan is still deciding whether to resume purchasing U.S. Western white wheat. Japan suspended its purchases shortly after unauthorized GMO wheat was discovered in an Oregon field this spring. U.S. Agricultural Secretary Tom Vilsack recently said that Japan may resume purchases in August. But Steve Mercer of the U.S. Wheat Associates said the official Japanese position is that no decision has yet been made. Mercer is encouraged by discussions with Japanese Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries during recent meetings in the United States. Western white wheat is a blend of soft white wheat and at least 10% club wheat, both classes of wheat primarily grown in the Pacific Northwest. With the Capital Press Ag Minute, this is Hannah Brous.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and capitalpress.com.
Nice lady, Hannah Brous. As a matter of fact, she used to be a high school ag teacher before she took that job with the Ag Minute. Hey, don't forget, for all your recycling needs this summer, go visit Pacific Steel and Recycling. They pay top dollar for scrap iron, tin cars, autos, stainless steel, aluminum, copper, and so much more. These are really, really nice people. Steel, serving you at 320 West Main in Burley. Pacific Steel and Recycling, 678-2321. I also want to remind you real quick that the Minidoka County Fair, we've got some wonderful people that are saying, come on over to our Minidoka County Fair. Absolutely, including Magic Valley Carpet at 613 D Street in Rupert. It's not just a carpet shop. No, they've got vinyl and tile supplies and hardwood and carpeting. Oh, it's all in stock, and they've got it all with the best installers and best prices in the valley. Remember, Magic Valley Carpet in Rupert. And also our friends at Snyder Automotive and Truck Parts, 205 West Ellis in Paul. Man, oh man, parts and repairs for automotive, agricultural, and industrial equipment and vehicles, and they specialize in diesel engine and fuel injection repair. Hey, buddy, they can get the job done for you. Snyder Automotive and Truck Parts in Paul. Let me ask you a question, and this is unbelievable to me. But how can we be too patriotic and too American? Please answer that for me. I want somebody to call me. How can we, as a United States citizenry, how can we be too patriotic and too American? Now, here's what happened back in New York City. Some real sharp mind that is connected to the Ground Zero Museum said that a picture showing firemen holding a United States flag after 9/11 was too patriotic and too American to put in the Ground Zero Museum. So once again, I ask you, the audience, there must be something here I'm missing. Explain to me how you can be, as an American citizen, proud to be in this country, proud of the red, white, and blue, proud of this country's achievements. How can you be too American and too patriotic? Somebody's got to help me on this. I don't understand it. And for this absolute jughead that is with the Museum of Ground Zero in New York to say, well, I don't know if we're going to put that in there because it's too patriotic and too American. How? Explain that to me. At a time when this country is being torn and ripped to shreds with the absolute negativity of this administration, a socialist, left-bent administration, how can today we be too patriotic and too American? Somebody please help me on that. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Good heavens, I almost forgot the number. Quickly give me a call. I'd like to hear from you. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, don't forget Nathan Harris of Harris Plumbing NG for all your plumbing service needs. You know, why are plumbers overlooked as one of the most important businesses and individuals in the world today? I don't understand this. A plumber is a godsend. I mean, when you're standing knee-deep in water and you're going, holy buckets, where's the plumber? You better have one in mind that really knows his job and knows how to serve you. That's Harris Plumbing NG. We had some problems. We absolutely needed a plumber, and all of a sudden, voila, Harris Plumbing NG was recommended to us, and one call that did it all, and I absolutely am very happy with their service. Honest pricing, free estimates. All you have to do is give them a call, 431-8633. That number again, 431-8633. Get a plumber you can trust. Harris Plumbing NG. They absolutely can do the job for you. Where's the call? 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I got another question for you here this morning. The Obama administration is now on the attack regarding phony scandals. This administration has a PR firm and a group of people within the administration that will take something that's going on and turn it around and come back like a shark to attack us. Obama made the comment that the phony scandals that are going on are taking away from Washington business. Well, now he's on the attack. And these pathetic souls are trying to minimize anyone or anything to get their way. How? And I'm going to ask you this question. How can you make light of Americans dying for their country? How do you make light of IRS bullying? How do you make fun of the First Amendment being tramped on and have the president and the rest of his cronies come out and say these are phony scandals? And the mother of slain Benghazi victim Sean Smith said, quote, "My son is dead. How could that be phony?" Sadness. This administration is an embarrassment to the United States, its past history, and our Constitution. When a mother has to step forward and say, "My son is dead, how can that be phony?" There are no answers as to why her son died. There is no reasoning. There is no comprehension as to what the problems were or why the problems weren't addressed and why possibly help wasn't on the way. And this mother of slain victim Sean Smith said, how in the world can they call it phony? Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, Zeb, it's just amazing to me. There was, the liberals had a lady that had a son that was murdered, got killed in the war, not murdered. And they ran her hard. She was against Bush, and she got more coverage than you can imagine. Now, this mother should be on Limbaugh, Hannity, Beck, Zeb Bell, and maybe you're trying. So, but you see, when the Republicans or the conservatives do not do their job like they should, and they do not learn the lesson from the liberals who throw their differences out the window and they stick to the plan come hell or high water, and you get a letter saying past due, and you're going, what in the hell is going on with you people? And see, they can't even figure out how, if they want to, how they're going to approach the next election, whether or not they're going to include Hispanics or not, and it's so, I don't know, there's just no leadership in the Republican Party.
And when you talk about this lady, I want to mention a couple of more things and then get your response. When she was asked about President Obama, she said, quote, "I don't believe him anymore. He's wrong. My son is dead. How could that be phony?" And she said also that it's wrong. It is not phony. It is not fake. My son is dead, and why is he dead? All I'm waiting for, even to this day, is just someone to get back to me and tell me what happened. Why did Hillary do as she did? Why was there no security there when there was supposed to be? Who was the general that called back the troops when they were going to help? She wants to know why, and she's very incensed and mad that her son and that situation in Benghazi was called a phony atmosphere by the president, and her son is dead. I find what President Obama is doing right now deplorable, and I want to go on record as saying that I just absolutely I find him to be the low part of a very scum-filled barrel when it comes to treating this situation as a phony scandal.
Well, when he said it, I was just infuriated, but I says, what's new? And so what is the retaliatory approach by the conservatives? I mean, some of them are good, but most of them are just weak. And I'm going to tell you, I just don't know what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. But there is an approach, if we would stick to our guns and do it right, it would work. But I don't know, Zeb, they're just so wish-washy. It seems like when they leave and go back to Washington, D.C., they just become something else other than what we sent there.
I can't argue that, Randy. I agree with you, but I'm pointing the finger at all the representatives and senators, congressmen from both parties, senators from both parties. I find them to be offensive in their lack of diligence to their constituents. And I'm going to go back to what I said earlier this morning. Sending me and others, and you heard others already this morning say they received one, an envelope from the Republican Party that says past due, so that everybody can see that, thinking it's a bill that you haven't paid and kind of an embarrassment. That's not the way to solidify people to really want to be a part of contributing to the Republican Party.
Well, I'll tell you what, these people do not fear us in the least, because Simpson is not afraid of anybody. He knows he's going to get reelected. There's a chance this guy might put the pressure on him, and maybe he'll actually beat him. And maybe that'll make the rest of them wake up. Of course, Simpson and Risch, Crapo and Risch are better, I think. But still, they're not doing what Mike Lee is doing. They're not doing what other senators are doing. And even though Crapo claims he's back there raising hell, I never see any evidence of it. So,
I agree.
I don't know.
In regards to the gentleman that's challenging Mr. Simpson, Brian Smith, he will be on our program next week, Randy, so stay tuned, okay?
I will.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, don't forget the Jerome County Fair and Rodeo, August 6th through the 11th. Say cheese. My goodness sakes, this great big fair is going to be having all kinds of fun, and believe me, you don't want to miss a minute of it. It's going to have everything there. They're going to be starting with all of course, the commercial and the 4-H events, and they're going to have the rodeo, and they're going to have just all kinds of great events. PRCA Rodeo at its best over at Jerome County Fairgrounds, along with the mud bogs, you name it, it's going to be there for your enjoyment. Don't miss it. Say cheese at the Jerome County Fair, August 6th through the 11th. Going to be one heck of a lot of fun. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Are we living right now in the police state of surveillance that George Orwell had predicted in his book 1984? You think about this, excuse me, and every single day there's another story about somebody that is being watched. Somebody's license plate is being read. Somebody is being videotaped at an intersection. Somebody's voice is being taped, whatever. Does this menacing and treacherous administration that we now have, do they have the tools to absolutely turn this country into a complete police state of surveillance, or is it already here? I've had a lot of people that have called and asked a lot of questions about these drones. They've called and asked a lot of questions about where we're at with the NSA watching over us, learning about us, understanding everything we do, who we talk to, where we go, our finances, our bank records, the people we associate with, our conversations, what we do on a daily travel plan. They know everything about us, what we do or say. And from the smartphones to the drones, they know everything we're doing, 24/7, 365. And I know there's been a motion of a bill to be acted upon. Back east, there was a band that had said, when you see a drone, shoot it down. Now, that would be, of course, I'm sure, ending up someone in jail and or with prison sentences or whatever. But the man is right. We are under surveillance right now, 24/7, 365. And I'm not opposed, nor would I ever cast any aspersions on anybody that did shoot down one of those drones. They are watching us. Everything you do. And in answer to my own question, I believe we've already arrived here in the land of the free and the home of the brave in a total police state of surveillance. What are your thoughts? Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You got to admit that maybe 10 years ago, you never, ever would think that they would have your voice recordings, they would be able to pick up your voice transmissions maybe on the street of New York or Cleveland, Chicago, LA, that drones would be hovering over the backyard of your home, recording who is there, conversations, etc. Caller, I'm going to ask your indulgence. Don't go away. I want to hear your remarks. I've got to get the weather in real quick, brought to you this hour by Mad River Laser, 700 South Oneida and Rupert. Oh my goodness, if you're having a family reunion or anything and you want to make t-shirts or sweatshirts and have their pictures on them as a remembrance of this year, 2013, they can handle it. They are the best at awards and everything. Oh my goodness, the trophies, they can do a beautiful job. Mad River Laser, 700 South Oneida in Rupert. Here quickly is Michael Rogers Weather.
Hey everybody, Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Got a brand spanking new week of you, me, and the same weather we had last week. Sunny today, 90 for the high, 63 for the overnight low, 92 for the high tomorrow, 96 on Wednesday. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
There you go, Michael Rogers Weather, brought to you this hour by some really talented people at Mad River Laser, 700 South Oneida in Rupert. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, Zeb, I'm calling right back because of the new topic. The Twin Falls County has 2 drones, and during we had a Tea Party meeting with 3 of the sheriffs, the undersheriff from Twin, Halverson, and of course, who's gone now, and then of course, Eward from Kaiser County, and you know, I never did get my question answered about who paid for the drones for Twin Falls County, and it'd be nice if maybe you got him on there and asked him, but he said that they helped to, instead of having a helicopter flying to save search and rescue for a young child that got lost, they used the drone. Now that was a good thing. I appreciate that. But too, you know, are they using them in ways they shouldn't? He said they weren't. Who paid for these drones for Twin Falls County unless you got...
Well, wait a minute, before you hang up. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say that there's all negativity about drones, and I'll say this quickly, Randy, and give me a short answer, and then I've got to take another call. There's not all negativity about drones and what they can do to be of service, but you know as well as I do, and you'd have to be pretty naive and basically living under a rock to assume that there's not going to be surveillance and basically spying on the American people.
Well, there's no question that the sheriffs in Idaho are pretty down-to-earth, grounded men, and so, but this is not the case elsewhere, and so, you know, I tell you what, when they get federal funding, they are, let's face it, if they can suck some money from somewhere, it seems like they're just, you know, on the street with a red light.
I agree with you.
And so, it seems as though it's not a good thing that, you know, not everybody's as pure as our shaft.
I agree with you. Hey, thanks, Randy. I got another call. Appreciate it, man. Thanks. Bye. Good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this bill from the Republican Party from the state or from the federal?
It was from the National Republican Party, saying that you're past due. And Helen, it offended me so much that I unfortunately, you know what I did? I did something I shouldn't have. I got so mad I just ripped it up and threw it in the trash. I should have saved it, and I should have sent it back to him and said just exactly what that other gentleman said this morning. No, your efforts to serve your constituents are past due, long past due, more so than my money. I'm offended by a bill that would, or an envelope that would come to me in the form of a bill that says past due, and everybody, my letter carrier, everybody is going to assume that I didn't pay a note that was due. That is entirely offensive to me, and the Republican Party should be slapped on the hands for being so stupid.
Well, really and truly, wasn't there a return address, you know, from the Republican Party to designate where that letter was from?
Yeah, well,
one, thank the Lord.
I'm going to have to get another copy of that because I looked at that and I ripped it up and I threw it with a couple of choice words into my wastebasket, and I'm so glad that Keith brought it up this morning because it was very offensive to me.
And about these drones, I think it would only be appropriate if we seen him give him the one-finger salute.
Helen, there is nothing that surprises me about your actions or activities. Thank you so much.
I surprise a lot of people. Bye.
Surprise or shock? There's a key word there. Thank you. I love that lady. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I don't want the surveillance that's going on right now. Oh, they will come and tell you, oh, but we're trying to keep you safer. Oh, we're watching out for the bad guys. Are they really? Are they really? Here is a multi-million square foot structure built down in Utah that's going to house information. Information about you and me. How many times we go to the grocery store. Where we spend our money. How often we use our credit cards. How often we fill up with our vehicles with gas. Where we go. Who we talk to. What meetings we attend. Basically, the money that we spend on a daily basis. How much money's in our checking account. Everything about you and me. You think we don't live in a police state? Now they can just take a look at your license plate and they can just get a complete rundown of who you are, what you did, what you're going to do, etc., etc., etc. This really bothers me. And as far as having a family gathering in my backyard and looking up and seeing one of those little drones, whether it's in the form of a little miniature airplane or the form of a bug, gee, I might have to buy a big fly swatter. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I cannot believe the mess with the IRS and Obamacare. Now, let me just give you a summation of what's going on here. You have to question the half-witted acts of the Democrats that are pushing Obamacare. And now the IRS, this is such a stupid story. The IRS doesn't want Obamacare for their employees because the IRS said their private plan for their unionization of their employees is better. Now wait a minute. Let's back up and think about this. The IRS doesn't want Obamacare. But the IRS, is going to be the enforcer for Obamacare to tell and demand that you and I take Obamacare. I got to scratch my head here for a minute, and I got to kind of contemplate this mess and reevaluate some of the things that I just said. So the IRS doesn't want Obamacare, and they're asking for an exclusion, because the coverage of Obamacare is not nearly good enough for their employees. So the IRS is upset about it and said, we don't want to lose our private plan. We're going to do away with Obamacare. But the IRS, are going to tell you and I, you'd better get it or else. This Obamacare, and for anybody out there that would like to go on the air and arbitrate this, the number's really easy, 436-2244. I'd love to have a Democrat tell me all the wonderful aspects of Obamacare, but can't find a Democrat that has any backbone. I can't. I keep looking. I looked all weekend. I peered under various rocks and looked in major cracks and crevices. Couldn't find a one that would come on this program and talk about the Democratic platform or Obamacare or how great this president is and what wonderful things he's done. I just can't find anybody. Why? I wonder if they're out there. But here we go with the IRS. The Internal Revenue Service, they don't want it either. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. How are you today?
Oh, I'm searching for a brave Democrat. I can't find one.
Oh, good luck with that one.
Yeah.
He'd be a unicorn. He'd be riding a unicorn more than likely.
And fading into the distance saying, hi-oh, silver.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, what can I do for you?
Well, on this Obamacare, my personal opinion of it is it's introduced, and the way it's introduced and what it's going to cost and cause is total chaos in this country. And I think once they get it done, they're going to be able to enforce martial law, because people are going to be upset, upset. There's going to be protests about it.
Well, wait a minute. Why do you say, and I'm not criticizing you, believe me, I'm asking, why do you say it will lead to the possibility of anarchy and people so upset that it would create a martial law situation? Why do you say that? I
say that because it's an unfair law. It's something that's going to cost. It's going to break the company or the country. And once we're basically busted and default, then people are going to be upset, because look how many people are on a welfare. And once the government stops printing those welfare checks because there's no money, what are those folks going to do? They're going to go to the streets.
Yeah, and quite frankly, I was talking to a gentleman on Friday that said we are just literally days or months away from an anarchy situation if this government doesn't start to do something that gives faith back into their administration. And you know that ain't going to happen.
That's true. They're doing just exactly what they want to do.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's a planned agenda. This is how they want to do it, and Obama's the perfect man for the job.
Well, when you combine, and I got to do a commercial here, but I want to say this quickly. When you combine surveillance of America and the American spirit is gone because they can't even go to the grocery store, or, quite frankly, I'm going to be very blunt, the bathroom without the government knowing it.
That's the scary part right there.
Amen.
That Snowden kid, you know, a lot of people say he's a traitor and that there. Well, Feinstein ought to read the Constitution also. She's trying to, take our rights away. So
I agree with you. I'm out of time, man. I got to do a commercial. Okay. God bless you for your thoughts, and I mean that very much. Thank you. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, serving you and everybody, because they've got the best in tires for all your driving needs. They've got the best in brake service. I mean that. I know that personally. They've got the best in front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. The best of people. I mean, they really got the best people working for them, serving you. Stop in and see Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Lane and Rupert, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, absolutely the best. We're going to take a little break and be back. We got a full slate of top-notch people this morning. Don't miss the rest of the program. Wow. Every half hour is very, very good. See you in 6. Welcome back. Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell. Good morning. And we're brought to you by our major sponsor, of course, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 great locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley, and, of course, our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always the shortest source of Western Waste Services. We care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Oh, they are always at your disposal. You know, I've been telling you the last couple of days about the summer rental of porta potties, restrooms with the standalone hand wash stations. Oh my, you're going to have a party. Are you going to have a lawn party? Are you going to have a family reunion? Well, then you'd better check it out today. You call Western Waste Services 734-6969 and check about the summer rental of these porta potties. And don't forget to get on the route service and get all your garbage picked up. It's gone. It's out of there. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal, 734-6969. Before we get our guest on the phone this morning, also, I want to remind everybody about our friends at Hanson Mortuary, and they're located at 710 6th Street over in Rupert with our dear friend Joel Heward, the owner and manager, and what a man, and a staff that are committed to providing families they serve with the best possible support and comfort, always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. Why don't you call them today, please, and take my advice and get all the information on pre-planning funerals at Hanson Mortuary and save so much of the stress and worry for our family. 710 6th Street in Rupert, number to call 436-5636. With me on the phone right now with the National Taxpayers Union, the communications manager, Mr. Doug Kellogg. Good morning, Doug. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Zeb. Thank you for the very lively introduction.
Well, you know, as tired as I am on Monday morning, what you hear is not necessarily what you're going to get. So, hey, Doug, last week, the speech by Obama, and I got to tell you something, Doug. I was ready to take off one of my Tony Lama boots and kind of pitch it right through the TV screen. I found it to be very offensive. I found some of the remarks in there about investments and also executive orders, and along with phony scandals. I got to tell you something, Doug. I was not a happy camper. Did you take it the same way I did?
Well, I think you bring up some interesting observations. He didn't really address a lot of the scandal issues, some of the things we've been looking at with the IRS abuse. He seemed to kind of dodge that largely. He really started off trying to advocate for what he's done on the economy and talking about how America's fought back and sort of making things seem pretty rosy when I think people like you and me have a lot of concerns about what's going on in Washington.
Yeah, but when you say that, though, Doug, he dodged the questions, he dodged the issues. My question to you would be, what about the American public? What about the people that were right there listening to the speech live? I mean, why weren't there more faces that showed concern? When he made the statement that the phony scandals are taking up so much time, can't people see through this? I mean, what's going on with the naivete of the American public that they can't see through this smokescreen?
Well, I don't know if they can or can't. It's tough to say. Of course, they select folks for the crowd, so they're certainly not representative of taxpayers out in the rest of the country in the heartland who are going to be concerned about these issues, and I think probably do see through the smokescreen. I think that was your observation is absolutely correct. He waited for a long time to even address those concerns, and then just tried to pass them off and not really get into it. He was much more interested in trying to tout his economic record, although I think we see a lot of flaws there. I'm sure, like many people out there, I was concerned about the initial things he brought up immediately. He said that they'd saved the auto industry, taken on a broken healthcare system, and invested in new technologies like solar and wind, in part of taking credit for economic growth, but I don't think any of those things have much to do with economic growth, and taxpayers are still $18 billion in the red for the auto bailout, and we have a lot of burdens coming with Obamacare this year, a lot of new taxes, and it really seems like solar and wind and those investments are really costing taxpayers, not bringing us new jobs. It's really oil and gas that are creating new jobs. So he seems to be living in an alternate universe, and I think that part of that alternate universe is not being concerned about the IRS scandal and trying to make it go away and treat it like it's nothing. But as we see evidence coming up in these hearings, clearly the folks in the D.C. office of the IRS knew what was going on. And as it goes along, as long as we have intrepid congressmen investigating this, hopefully the truth will come to light. I think we'll find out that this is not a phony scandal, as the president called it.
Doug, there's one group, if you will, that I think is guilty of the misinformation in this country or the non-information in this country, and that's the news media itself. You work with the news media. You're in communications. I work as a news media representative. I'm trying my best to get all the facts, and I underline that word, the facts out. And the news media in general, whether it's the ABCs, CBSs, NBCs, CNNs, I don't care who it is, I think they're doing doing an absolutely lousy job. Everybody should be fired. They should bring in perhaps the water cooler boy to start being an investigative journalist and put the facts out there. The news media is in bed with Obama, and it's not going to get any better. Would you agree or disagree?
I think, unfortunately, I would have to agree in general. Certainly, there are some folks out there who do a good job, like you mentioned. I think there are some. The water boy is at some organizations actually doing some decent investigative reporting, but it's fewer and further between. And unfortunately, I think particularly you see this with the news media's coverage of the IRS scandal, which we were talking about just a moment ago. They have really not devoted the same amount of airtime to it as other, things like the royal baby and situations like that, which don't really affect us domestically too much. So I think it's, and sometimes it's just editorializing. They just are either, if they're not giving a straight opinion, they are managing to dodge giving proper light to these challenges that we're dealing with.
The National Taxpayers Union, and you work for them. And when I sat there and listened to that speech the other day, and he kept using one word that just infuriates me, because that word was a word that was hiding the real word, the word investments. Now, come on, Doug, you know as well as I do, and I think you'll agree with me, why didn't he just come out and say taxes? Because that's what it's going to be. It's not an investment. It's a higher tax rate with more money coming out of my pocket to invest in his stupidity.
Exactly. Investments have become a buzzword that I think that the attempts to paint over the fact that they're talking about taxes and new government spending and more debt at a time we absolutely cannot afford it, it's starting to lose its luster. I don't think anybody's really falling for that. The idea that, he talks about infrastructure investment and how that will keep people here, and if we don't have the right roads or something, everybody's going to go abroad. He even brought up broadband internet access and how if we don't have that, people are going to leave the country. Meanwhile, the U.S., the private U.S. companies are doing a perfectly fine job of making us a leader in broadband expansion. So yes, it's a term that means more spending, more debt, and more taxes, which we will see a lot of this year. This is a big year for tax hikes. And it's not going to make a big difference. It's only going to help hamper the economy. And it's up for debate whether they're actually going to be quote unquote investing that money in areas that would mean much economically, or if it'll just go to more pet projects, more Solyndras. You have to trust these people to somehow spend this money correctly after 5 years of not really of a lot of government spending and not a lot of results.
You know something, Doug? The thing that scares me the most is that I've got books and books on my desk right now. That's why I've got such a messy office about Obamacare and the insidious relationship that it's going to have to our taxes and how it's going to hurt our elderly, what it's going to take away. This thing is going to tax America possibly to the brink of the chasm and then tip it over. Do you agree with me that when the taxes kick in for Obamacare next year, that could be the straw that breaks the camel's back?
I think it will be, and that's one of the interesting things about the president trying to tout Obamacare in this speech. I wonder if it's the last opportunity he'll have before everybody wakes up after getting punched in the face by all these taxes and won't ever even abide by that anymore. But we have some big ones, and this year the capital gains rate is going up to over 23% thanks to Obamacare surtax and the tax hike we saw at the end of last year. See dividends, the final total tax rate will be over 43%. The mandate taxes has been a lot of debate in Washington. As you'll probably notice that the employer mandate was delayed, but the individual mandate has not. So when those exactly hit, we can't be entirely sure with that up in the air. Hopefully never. Hopefully it will be repealed, which is something NTU, the National Taxpayers Union, would love to see. And there's more than that. As you noted in 2014, there's some even more burdensome taxes coming down the pike. And I think the medical device tax is another one that people who need to buy those products. If you incur medical expenses that are over 10% of your income, now you'll be able to deduct them from your tax return. But before, as we all know, it was something about around 7%. Mm-hmm. So these are sort of the leads on a number of regulations and taxes that we're keeping an eye on that are going to put the brakes on an economy that is really slowly sputtering along. If you are paying attention, if you believe the president, it's fighting back roaring.
You know, to use some of your phrases, to basically they're stymieing the economy, they're stymieing American growth, and the incentive to be great, Doug, is gone. I mean, people are looking at going out and maybe starting the American dream with an American business and really achieving so much great in their life with their job, etc. But that incentive is gone because this government right now is just absolutely slapping them down. And you, on behalf of the National Taxpayers Union, you must really be frustrated with the lack of American achievement because they can't afford to achieve.
I think, and there's so many things going on there. It is really disappointing. I think that we're always very concerned with small businesses and entrepreneurs who face an environment that is really difficult to get going in. One thing that's going to make that even harder is we live in a technical age where internet is extremely important. E-commerce has been a growing, basically one of the only bright spots of our economy. And we'll be looking at a potential internet sales tax, which is being considered in the House, which has got to be knocked down because that is something that big businesses have the ability to deal with much more than small individuals and smaller businesses who are growing online because that's where you sell your products now, and they could be highly damaged by in particular, the compliance costs that would be incurred upon them for having to pay taxes to every state in the union, essentially, that has a sales tax. So that's just one thing of note, but of course the regulatory environment is awful. I think that even if you weren't necessarily starting a business, we have a risk of a student loan bubble that's growing and possibly bursting, where costs for college are being driven up because the government just keeps getting involved and wants to keep their loan rates low and keep their standards for who's getting those loans lenient, and it's ultimately driving up the cost of college, which has skyrocketed. So if you're a young person looking to get an education, you're facing barriers. If you're starting a business, you're facing barriers. It's unfortunate. It seems like if you don't have the money and the cachet to play ball with politicians in Washington, then you could be highly vulnerable. But if you do have that cachet and money and you're a larger business that's in with the right people, or you're a Wall Street trading firm or something, you might be totally fine.
You know, Doug, I'm sitting here, and I've said this for a long time on this program. I believe this is the first time you've been on my show, but I'll mention this statement to you again. I absolutely think that the whole problem in this country is a six-letter word. So, six-letter word. Everything stems around energy. Energy. And with this president kowtowing to the green energy programs, the silly, frivolous input of our money into wind and solar, which has not turned a penny of a profit, nor will it in the near future for at least 35 or 40 years, we need to have energy, and we're regressing in our energy plans and our proposals. We're going backward instead of forward. This guy doesn't get it as far as what we need to progress as a country, and also to increase our tax base. Why can't he understand that with companies going out of business because of a lack of energy, we're not making the money to pay the taxes?
Yeah, I think it's also unfortunate because I don't think any of us philosophically have any opposition to, so-called green energy if it's going to compete fairly. I think it's when we see government come in and tag team and use, our hard-earned money to give it to their friends who are running these types of firms that breeds resentment. If those types of technologies are ready to perform, then fine. But it doesn't seem like it at the moment, so it's not okay to take all our money and give it to them to prop them up. But I think furthermore on your point is the president, has some guts to come out and talk about how job growth is up, and then completely, in the first parts of his speech where he's talking about how, solar is helping this, not mention the largest and fastest growing sector of the economy, which is oil and gas. And meanwhile, he's sticking his EPA on fracking and carbon emissions, which is a new expanding program that the EPA is coming up with rules to restrict carbon emissions, which could have hugely detrimental impacts on the economy. But no, the president's still okay taking credit for the job growth numbers that are he's being helped with by oil and gas without giving them any due credit. So it's an interesting situation. when you hear the president's rhetoric to try and guess what's going on in his head. And he'll ever give credit where credit is due, but it doesn't seem like they're going to change course. I mean, all the ideas on every level of the economy and every level of government for the president just seem to be old Washington-centered ideas and not a lot of adjustment and acknowledgement of what's actually going on in the real world.
You know, when you take $8 billion, now I guess maybe the term billion is the new normal right now, but $8 billion still astounds me, of our money and going to replenish more of a supply into green energy, which has been money down the toilet, and you've got small businesses that are just absolutely begging to have customers come through the door. Energy. They've got to drive to get the shoes. They got to drive to buy the ice cream cone. They've got to drive to the grocery store. Why can't this man get it and his administration get it that without energy that's affordable, our economy is at a tipping point?
It's tough to say what is actually going on with their own belief system. I think that they have a path forward that I think we've seen pretty much from day one, when even back in 2009, they managed to get cap and trade through the House before it couldn't get through the Senate. And now we see them going back to the well and trying a different approach with EPA. It's just one example of, their energy policy is what it is. We remember candidate Obama saying that he wanted coal plants to essentially go bankrupt because of the rules he wanted the government to impose upon them. That's just their viewpoint. They're not going to change. I'm sure there's somebody in the administration notices that it damages folks, but I don't think that there's any reason to think that they're going to change course after 5 years. They're just going to keep looking for different avenues to get their policies through. And when it comes to getting more of our cash and more of our tax dollars to spend through Washington, they're fine with it. I don't think they care so much that it works quickly. They have their friends who have started these green energy outfits. There's a lot of weird incestuousness with the folks who are actually starting these companies that are getting the government loans, and they're happy to pass out our money to them, regardless of results and regardless of whether it hurts people.
Doug, final thought, real quick answer on this, but another part of his speech that left me very cold is basically almost a king attitude or a dictatorial attitude of executive orders. This man scares me with his stroke of the pen, possibly on executive orders. What do you, on behalf of the National Taxpayers Union, fear that this man might try to impose with his penmanship?
I think it's exactly that. His agenda, and is bad enough, but to have it be imposed through an extrajudicial process that we don't view as constitutionally sound would be more disturbing. It would certainly make it worse. So we will keep our eyes on that, and I think that you're absolutely right to watch this. The rhetoric in his speech should be alarming in terms of how he's talking about Congress. The first half of it really seemed to be mostly complaining about the GOP and Congress and not a whole lot about actual economic efforts. He just seemed to talk about a lot of his old legislative ideas. So part of this, I think, is they are trying to set the stage for a real tough battle with Congress, and it doesn't seem like they're going to change course. There does not seem to be any change in ideas. It just seems to be looking for a way to get those policies implemented. And I think the EPA, being requested to go look at new rules to restrict carbon emissions is a dangerous sign. That sort of thing, whether it's bureaucratic action or executive orders, is something for folks to keep an eye on, because that could be the next step if Congress doesn't capitulate to the president, because he does not seem to be interested in compromising on these ideas.
Absolutely. Doug, you got a promise to come back. You did a wonderful job. The communications manager for the National Taxpayers Union, Doug Kellogg. Have a great day, my friend, and please, we'll talk to you in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you, Zeb.
Thank you, sir. Very informative and well-informed individual, Doug Kellogg with the National Taxpayers Union, and I appreciate him coming on the program this morning talking about that speech last week with Obama. I mean, I don't have a lot of patience. That's one thing that when they were passing it out up in heaven, I didn't get a spoonful of patience. And I listened to that speech, and I honestly did want to take a boot off and just throw it right through the television set. I do know some nice people, though, that can serve you and help save you money and make sense with your money. And as a matter of fact, that's what we call their program segment on Thursdays. Idaho Lending Group, Make Sense with Your Money. 1182 Eastland Drive North in Twin Falls. NMLS number 181777, Equal Opportunity Lender. They can help you as a borrower. You know, when you got your mortgage, etc., take the time to fully understand all of your loan options that can save you significant amounts of money over the life of your loan. These people are caring. These people are courteous. These people are very knowledgeable, and they saved me personally a lot of money on a refi on my mortgage. Call them today, please. Idaho Lending Group, 1182 Eastland Drive North in Twin Falls, 734-5626. Nice people. Also, oh my, you know what's coming up in the not-too-distant future, and that's the Cassia County Fair and Pro Rodeo, and I'm telling you, this year they've got one of my favorite singers that's going to be at the Cassia County Fair, Aaron Tippin. I love this guy's music. I love his red, white, and blue attitude towards America. Don't forget to get your tickets right now for Aaron Tippin in concert August 13th, Tuesday, and this is going to be one ripping good concert. Let me tell you, I just love this guy's attitude. Like I said, you're going to love his music. All of this at the Cassia County Fair and Pro Rodeo. Get your tickets right now. They're on sale right now. All you have to do is call the Cassia County Fair office at 678-9150 or go in person to 1101 Elba Avenue in Burley, the office. Wow, this is going to be a ripping good concert. Aaron Tippin at the Cassia County Fair. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And while I have just a moment, before we have our next guest on the phone, and we've had some changes with our guest, I want to remind you to be very aware, excuse me for choking in your ear, be very aware of door-to-door salespeople that are selling Dish or DirecTV. They will tell you a little bit of a lie to get in your house, and then they may even say they're associated with Quali's Electronics, and that is not true. I've known the Quali family for 35 years plus. And believe me, they do not do any door-to-door sales. And if anybody says they're working with Quali's, they are lying. The good news is, however, that Quali's Electronics handles, of course, Dish and DirecTV. So you check with them personally by calling them at 733-4910 or go into their business at 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls, Quali's Electronics. And don't be duped by those door-to-door salespeople. Let me see, I got a message coming in here, and the lovely Gina, the most efficient lady in the entire universe, said that our guest is ready, and we're going to be going to that guest in just a moment. But right now, I also want to remind you about a great big warehouse blowout that's going on at Lee's Furniture, Floors and More. Holy moly, no money down, no payment right now until 2014. Are you kidding me? On approved credit? All you have to do is check out all the recliners, all the sofas, all the carpeting, all the hardwood flooring, all the bunk beds, all the jewelry chests, everything. Warehouse blowout. You can save up to 70%. Better get in there today. Lee's Furniture, Floors and More, 459 Overland in Burley. You stop into Lee's right now. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go now to the Alliance Defending Freedom, and we have with us on the phone, and we've had some changes, and I've got to check out, I believe we have Catherine Glenn Foster, Litigation Counsel with the ADF. Is that right, Catherine?
That is correct. It's great to be here today. Thank you.
No, God bless you for being here, and I know that, understand that Steve Aiden's a little bit under the weather and not feeling well. Please convey to Steve that we hope he feels better in the very near future. Would you do that for us?
I sure will. Thank you.
Catherine, tell me a little bit, what's going on with a so-called global democracy bill, and why is the Alliance Defending Freedom involved in this?
Well, the problem with this Global Democracy Promotion Act is it's simply not democratic. Democracy affirms that every innocent life deserves to be protected. And so we call upon Congress and the Obama administration to show true respect for democracy by putting a halt to its ceaseless efforts to impose its radical agenda on life-affirming sovereign nations. this act would actually take away the democracy of sovereign nations by forcing abortion and the homosexual agenda on them.
Now, I'm really upset about this, Catherine, because I think abortion is just absolutely heinous and an act of the devil itself. And this president has pushed, Obama has pushed, since he was a senator from Illinois, he's pushed even the partial birth abortion and a very heinous act. And now, the promotion of homosexuality as a normalcy into society, I'm absolutely appalled and I'm sickened by this administration. What are they trying to do to make this a normal attitude all around the globe?
Well, this Global Democracy Promotion Act, which is fortunately still stuck in committee, and we just pray will not be passed. But this act would essentially make it impossible to use the promotion of abortion to not fund organizations. And so it would promote abortion around the world, would promote the homosexual agenda around the world, and it would promote it to unwilling countries that already have made a strong stand, are strong allies, and it would just undermine their sovereign governments.
How is this going to be pushed, though, Catherine? I'm a little bit vague on how they're going to coerce or do some arm twisting on this. Is it going to be through, like, the United Nations? I noticed that when Obama recently went to Africa and he tried to push the homosexual agenda over in Africa, they said, wait a minute, not in our country. We're going to leave it the way it is. What's the coercement against these countries if they don't bend to go along with these sins?
Right. Well, as the saying goes, it's money, money, money. It's all about U.S.-funded international aid. And what this bill would do is take away any restrictions on aid so that it can be used to promote abortion, can be used to promote really anything at all, whatever this administration wants to promote, even in the face of countries that have so clearly said that every innocent life deserves to be protected. And so it's time to show true respect for democracy here by putting a halt to efforts to use international aid coercively to promote abortion, to promote the homosexual agenda, and to withdraw that money if countries do not step into line.
Barbara Boxer is the one that reintroduced this Global Democracy Promotion Act, and I still can't figure out why. Why do they want to do something that is absolutely so sickening and so pathetic and so against Christians, which still 80% plus in this United States that are rebuffing this? Why are they throwing this in the face of the American public?
You're absolutely right. Democracy affirms that every innocent life deserves to be protected. And that's something that pretty much everyone can agree on. It is hard to understand why they would just seem to turn that on its head and be using international aid funded by U.S. taxpayers coercively and in the promotion of abortion and the homosexual agenda, which taxpayers have voted against, have taken a stand against.
You know, when I sit here and I talk about abortion and have stories about abortion and the devaluation of human life, and then they tie it into something so pathetic and so abnormal or subnormal as the homosexual agenda, it just makes me sit back and wonder, Catherine, where are the normal people standing up for what is morality in this world? What happened to us as a society, not only here in this country, but other countries? What in the world is going on that we would even think about accepting something like this?
Absolutely. We're just seeing problem after problem from Kermit Gosnell in Philadelphia to this bill, frankly. The Global Democracy Promotion Act is simply not democratic. Democracy would affirm that every innocent life deserves to be protected, and that's simply not what this bill does. It does the exact opposite. It devalues human life and tries to promote our devaluing, this administration's devaluing of life around the globe to countries that have already affirmed their protection of human life and have said, no, we don't want abortion.
Now, my concern is, Catherine, and tell me if I'm wrong, that if this global democracy bill is passed and pushed and furthered, what would it do to you, the Alliance Defending Freedom, and me, a very, very conservative talk show host? Would it make it almost illegal and our voices would be stymied and or we would be fined and run out of business if we spoke out against this?
Not yet, although that is something to definitely keep our eye on. This bill does focus on that international aid, and it's all about the money here. It's all about promoting abortion internationally, just like we've seen Planned Parenthood Federation of America promoting abortion internationally now, not just using its dedicated international associated organization, but even Planned Parenthood Federation of America is reaching out globally to promote abortion. It's that same thing. The Obama administration using U.S.-funded international aid to reach out and promote abortion to unwilling countries around the globe.
Yeah, but, Catherine, what scares me is that when you have something like this that's going to be pushed by a very liberal senator with a very liberal administration, with a very liberal United Nations, with a very liberal world, they could turn around and for conservatives like you and I and organizations like yours, they could say, okay, you speak out against this, we're going to come down on you, there's going to be fines, there's going to be retribution. They literally can change the morality structure of the entire world.
Absolutely. You are right. And it just flies in the face of democracy, which, of course, affirms that every innocent life must be protected. That's what we're called to do and what we must do in a democratic society.
Okay, what can people do? I mean, can their voices be heard? How can we stand up and say, no, we don't want this bill. We don't want this loony global democracy bill. We don't want to have the perpetration of the homosexual agenda. We don't want to have the perpetration of a bill that's going to kill more babies. What can we do, Catherine?
Absolutely. What you can do is contact your senator, contact your legislators, and tell them about how bad this Global Democracy Promotion Act is. It's named about democracy. It has the word democracy in its title, and it's just not democratic. So contact your legislators and tell them what it really is. Tell them to vote against it, and just let them know that you're on top of it.
You know, and you said something very interesting right there, Catherine. We have got to call our senators and congressmen and tell them what's in the bill. And this is such an oxymoron because those are the people that are supposed to read. Those are the people that are supposed to know. Those are the people that are supposed to have the intelligence to make good, honest decisions about things that are going to affect society. And sometimes these lame brains haven't got a clue as to what's going on.
A lot of times it does seem like we have to inform our legislators that when they're faced with multi-thousand-page bills that are passed in the dead of night, it's hard for them to get through it. And we, the people, need to speak up. They are our elected representatives, and we have to tell them what's in the bill and what we want them to do. They're working for us, and democracy just affirms that we have to be talking to them, expressing our views to them, and telling them that every innocent life must be protected.
Absolutely. Now, if people want to follow this story and other stories regarding the Alliance Defending Freedom, tell us how they can find out more about ADF.
Absolutely. Go to alliancedefendingfreedom.org. and you will find information on this issue and all of our other issues related to life, marriage and the family, and, of course, religious liberty, all issues about which we are extremely passionate.
Absolutely. You know, I really appreciated you coming on, and now, Catherine, you can kind of just take a little napkin and wipe the sweat off your brow. It's all over, but you did a wonderful job, and please come back and see us in the future, would you?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right. Catherine Glenn Foster, litigation counsel with a great group, the Alliance Defending Freedom. God bless. Thank you so much. You know, I'm honored to have these folks on my program and talk about these various things, and I'm going to be very honest and blunt about this. Barbara Boxer, shame on you. Barbara Boxer, Barack Obama, shame heaped upon you. How dare you introduce legislation to possibly be accepted by the world called a global democracy bill that does nothing but export abortion on demand, kill babies on demand, and promote a filthy, sleazy, absolutely subnormal culture of homosexuality around the globe. Damn you for what you're doing to the civilized world. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I just, and people are, oh, did you hear what he said? Oh, did you hear what he mentioned? That's the way it is. I find these people that are tearing apart the fabric of morality and what's right and wrong and trying to protect children. I find these people so repulsive. There are not words mean enough or devastating enough in the dictionary to explain who and what they are. Let's ride Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. They're open Tuesdays through Saturdays 9 to 6, and believe me, they've got all the 2014 models are showing up daily, and they've got the now in stock. This is a rippin' fun machine right here. The Can-Am Maverick Max 4-seater. Oh my, I got to get over and take a look on that. And they've got great deals on Hondas until the end of the month. Better get in there tomorrow. Don't forget all the watercraft. They've got everything for you where the fun is sold. Where is it? Let's ride. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. You stop in and see them tomorrow. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
I just want to make a comment on what you just were talking about. I'm just going to say, you go for it, Bell. Amen to you, too. 200% more. Keep up the good work.
Does it bother you like it does me to see the fabric of everything that is right being torn down and just tromped on? I mean, my goodness, my mom and dad, my grandparents and their parents before them, with the morality and what's right and the biblical aspects of how we should live our life, it's being trumped upon by this administration and these people.
Oh, yeah, it bothers me. You bet. What are we going to do about it?
We have to stand up and fight back, and I certainly appreciate your call. I know that you're out there figuring ways how you personally can get involved, and I appreciate that, but we all have to stand up and say, no, enough is enough. And this global bill of trying to perpetrate more evil, and that's what it is, evil, abortion and homosexuality, it's got to be stopped.
That's right, it does, and I hope somebody besides us can help us do something about it. I'll hang up on that. You have a wonderful day.
God bless you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, that is the word I'll sum up with. Obama is evil. Oh, wow! I can see the letters to the editor. I can see the people go, did you hear that Zeb Bell called Obama evil? I think he is. I think Senator Barbara Boxer, evil. My opinion. Of course, the other side, the Democrats and the liberals, when asked very politely to come on to the program and sit down and try to explain their platform, they don't call. Michael Rogers with a weather update. I'll be right back.
Hey everybody, Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Got a brand spanking new week of you, me, and the same weather we had last week. Sunny today, 90 for the high, 63 for the overnight low, 92 for the high tomorrow, 96 on Wednesday. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
There's MichaelRogersWeather.com. Excuse me, I'm choking here. MichaelRogersWeather.com. Woo, I love hay fever season. And we appreciate everything he does for our program. Calls are welcome. Come on, folks. You got to be upset about what's going on. And everybody's saying, well, yeah, but gee, I'm just one person. I can't do anything. Oh, well, I think I'll go to the grocery store now. The heck we can't. We can change this in a unified voice. And I'm telling you, man, I don't care if you have to call Crapo or if you have to call Rish or if they're at a meeting, stand up and be vocal. Look them in the eye and say, hey, how come Pastor Abinini's still in Iran? How come you haven't done enough to get him out of there? Where's all the voices yelling, screaming, and shouting against the Iranian government? Hey, how come you guys didn't read the bill about this global bill trying to promote abortion and homosexuality? Well, I didn't read the bill. I don't know about it. Well, tell them. Tell them. They work for us. We don't work for them. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Number to call, 436-4424. Think about life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, everything for security for your home, your family, your business. You better get a hold of the pros, Dean and Todd. They're always devoted to serving other folks, and they'd love to serve you. Number to call, 436-4424. 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance in Rupert. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Well, Zev, the scammers are at it again.
What now?
Well, my wife got an email, saying that $10 million is waiting to be deposited into the Federal Reserve if they need our signature or something like that. Have you heard of such a thing?
You know, I take all of these things that come across the fax machines. I take all of these stories that come across my emails, all of these things. I get these phone calls about, oh, boy, all you have to do is help us here, and we'll send you this, and we'll get your checkbook number, and we'll deposit it into your account. These are nothing more than insidious, criminal, just little deviants that need to be squashed like bugs, and I have no time for them.
Well, that's the way I felt about it. I'm not going to do anything about it because I don't think it does anything good to send to the Attorney General because the people just leave an email address and it probably does not exist.
Yeah, I mean, anytime somebody wants your money or they say, hey, we're over in some place in Africa and there's been a relative of yours that has been found that has at least a $20 million estate and I'm handling it and you're one of the relatives, give me your bank account number and I'll send you a check. Just please hang up on these people and don't walk away from the phone, run away from the phone.
How do they get your email address? My wife, I don't even have one for that reason. But my wife, she's very, very guarded with her email address, but yet these people seem to be able to find it.
Yeah, but Keith, you can answer your own question when you think about what we talked about in the first hour of the program this morning. We're living in a police state of surveillance. They know everything about you. They know everything about where you shop. They know everything about where you go to church. They know everything about where you buy your groceries, your gasoline. We are being surveilled upon every day, 24/7, so it's not that hard to understand how they can find out about your email and send you a notice of money.
Yes, I guess you're right. I'm just not of the technology age, I guess.
You and me both, and I don't want to be. Thanks, Keith. God bless you, man.
Well, I'm not either. I'm not going to have an email address.
All right, thanks much. I appreciate it. However, I do like to use and have people use my email to the point where they'll send me very interesting stories and tidbits. And one caution I want to make to people, and I mean this has been said by a lot of talk show hosts, various programs, not only here but across the United States. Be very careful and check it out. Check it out for the validity. Check it out for the honesty. And don't just take something as a true story that comes across the email, because there's a lot of false stories out there. There's a lot of false writers. There's a lot of people that absolutely are trying to perpetrate a certain idea or goal. Be careful and check it out before you really adhere to what they're saying. I check and double check every single story that I get. And I only work with verified, certified, honest people back in Washington and New York. And if I get a story that comes across the internet, and Deanne had to do this about 20 times last week, I will absolutely say, okay, we need to verify it. We need to find out if the story is valid. We need to find out if the facts are valid. I will not put one single story on this program unless it is checked and double-checked. And just checking it once, you might not uncover some of the facts that have been distorted. And we double-check everything. And I'll even call people that, thank God, are available 24/7, basically, on the news agencies, and I'll make sure I verify everything. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Golden Heritage Senior Center, what are they going to have for today on the menu? It says clam chowder. Okay, clam chowder. And then they're going to be playing pool and have a pinochle party this afternoon at 1 p.m. Haven't played pinochle for years. A lot of people won't play pinochle with me because I always want the bid. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle on the landline. I'd love to hear from you. We'll talk about any subject you want. You know, one person we haven't talked to yet this morning, and she's probably feeling very left out, and I don't want to hurt her feelings, and that's the lovely Gina. Good morning.
I'm not feeling left out. It leaves me time to do some other things like paint the barn and Facebook.
But I did see you earlier when the cameras came on. You were sitting there in the first hour, and you were having a hard time suppressing a yawn.
Me?
Yeah. And in the background, I could hear you go, a little bit like that. Yeah.
So, you know, when you spend a rough day at Lagoon all day, you tend to come back to work a little burnt and tired, but refreshed.
Fun is tiring.
Fun is tiring. Fun is work.
Yeah. And you really got to put your heart and soul into it. And I really believe in fun.
Well, you know what? Lagoon was a blast, and I think all of the boys enjoyed themselves. Most importantly, my son, and like I was telling you earlier, just the look on his face on some of the rides that we took him on, it was just priceless.
You know, but I got to ask you this though. Be honest with you. You said the boys. Now you're talking guys and Kennedy. I mean, we're talking guys right around what, 40?
Yes.
Okay.
42 and 46, respectively.
Okay, now here's the deal. They probably had more fun and were screaming and hollering more than 6-year-old Kennedy.
Oh, honestly, absolutely correct. James he did more screaming on the roller coasters. My son, he didn't even hear a peep out of him. He was like, ugh. And that's all you heard out of him. My brother had a great time, and he had a couple hoops and hollers, but James, wow, he was the screamer.
Now, whoa, stop, because all of a sudden, James is cringing in a corner like a scared kitty cat right now, because he promotes this huge macho image of the big, strong, tough guy, kind of like a WWF wrestler. And you're telling the world, you're telling my audience, that he was on that ride and screamed like a little girl.
He did too, straight up. He screamed like a little girl. Have you been to Lagoon lately?
No, I haven't.
Well, they have a couple new roller coasters, and they have one that's called Wicked, and it's a really cool one, and that is his favorite, and he screams and hollers. Of course, the Colossus, which is the double looper, that's a good screamer. Of course, I was out there screaming and yelling like just with everybody else, and it was a good time, tiring but good time. And yes, actually, the boys, aka the older gentlemen, did more screaming than the 6-year-old.
My concern, after that last statement I made about in a corner like a scared little kitten, James is a big guy, and I would like to promote the idea to you that he leave me alone.
He has nothing but the utmost respect for you, sir.
I hope he's not listening, and if he wants a copy of this program, tell him it ain't gonna happen.
Go to the website, babe. Go to the website.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Oh. Hey, coming up next hour, we've got really 2 great individuals I want everybody to listen to. We've got Joe Klein. He's an author that's going to be talking about the mess that we're in with the Muslim Brotherhood right now and the infiltration of the Muslim Brotherhood into the White House and this administration. And then at 10:30 this morning, I've worked hard to get a lady on the program for a long time from New Mexico. Her name is Marita Noon, and she's the executive director for Energy Makes America Great. And she knows all about this stupid, frilly, waste of time, green energy, and she's going to be on the program this next hour, so it's going to be a lot of fun, along with all your calls, so tune us in. No, I would love to go to Lagoon, Gina, and at 65 years of age, I just don't know if my pulse rate can take one of those rides.
You know, they do have some very, very tame rides. Of course, they do have the classics, the Ferris wheel. They do have, remember the turn-of-the-century swings, where the swings are up on chains, and then they turn this carousel around.
Yeah.
I love that one. They have that, and they just have a lot of fun rides, and we were just very, very impressed. And the best thing about going on a Sunday, hardly any lines.
You're kidding me.
Hardly any lines to get onto the rides, and so we were able to just, I think we were back and forth to both ends of the park at least 5 different times.
Oh, my goodness. You know, Deanne and I think I'm speaking for Deanne, too. I don't think that we've been on a quote-unquote ride for one of those, amusement parks for 30 years.
You need to take the grandkids, and you guys need to go.
So they can laugh at me.
Pretty much.
Yeah, you think James screamed, "You ain't heard nothing yet, baby."
The best one, honestly, the best one that was the most refreshing was the Rattlesnake Rapids. And it's kind of like a fake little whitewater rapid, but it cools you off. I mean, you do get wet. Yeah. And I came out of it the final time absolutely drenched, but it is so much fun. And on a warm day, of course, yesterday wasn't as hot as it would have been the prior weekend that we were thinking about going, but it was beautiful. It was fun.
All right.
You need to go.
Next time you go, call us and we'll think about it.
Okay.
Okay. I'll be back in 6. Thanks.
Okay.
All right. Oh, welcome back. Zeb at the Ranch on a Monday. And, of course, we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, along with some of our great advertisers, including Lease Furniture, Floors, and more, at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today, 734-6969. We'll have our guest on the air with us in just a moment, but if you'd like to start earning $30,000 to $40,000 a year in as little as 4 or 5 weeks, then you'd better call Lucky Bourne at College of Southern Idaho's New Sage Truck Driving School in Burley right now. 878-5802, the number to call. You'll get one-on-one over-the-road training and all the necessary endorsements, and when you've earned your CDL, their team will help you get your first truck driving job. Hey, new classes begin every week. Call Lucky Bourne right now at the new CSI Truck Driving School in Burley. 878-5802. They're waiting to hear from you. Real quick, too, if you get these door-to-door salesmen that are saying, hey, we can sell you Dish or DirecTV, and hey, we're associated with Quality's Electronics and Twin, no, they're not. Quality's Electronics does not do any door-to-door sales, and if anybody says they're working with Quality's, shut the door in their face, walk away. The good news is that Dish TV or DirecTV are available through Quality's at their location at 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls, or give them a call at 733-4910, and they can install it and provide the local service and support you need for your satisfaction. Quality's Electronics in Twin. Well, let's go to the phone lines right now and go to this gentleman that's been on our program before, and I've got a lot of respect for him, a popular radio guest and author, political pundit, Joe Klein. Good morning, Joe. How are you?
I'm fine. Thanks for having me.
Joe, needless to say, I enjoy your writings, and I follow especially the piece that you did called The Brotherhood's Reach for Jihad. And before we get right into that piece, I want to ask you a question. This administration, are they naive? Are they stupid, or are they trying to dupe us, the American public, into accepting the Muslim Brotherhood with some of the appointments that have been made within the internal organism of the administration with Obama? What's going on there?
Well, I would say it's a combination of all three, because I think they're stupid and naive to believe that the Muslim Brotherhood, going back to its formation in Egypt in 1928, it spawned Al-Qaeda, it spawned Hamas. I think it's naive and stupid for them to believe that the Muslim Brotherhood can suddenly turn into this force for democracy and moderation. But I think that's where the Obama administration has been taking its foreign policy in that part of the world since the beginning of the first term. And in my book, Lethal Engagement, I outline how Obama started down that road in his speech in Cairo in June of 2009, in which he essentially apologized for all of the supposed transgressions by the West against the Muslim world. He bought into the narrative of the Muslim world being the victims of colonial oppression. And he invited, or his State Department invited members of the Muslim Brotherhood to sit in on that speech. And as you say, they've had visitors from the Muslim Brotherhood and other radical Islamists at the White House.
Joe, why aren't some of our elected officials, whether it's our Idaho senators or congressmen or people from other states that represent their constituents, why aren't they asking more questions and demanding answers like Michelle Bachmann did?
Well, because you can see what happened to Michelle Bachmann and Congressman Gomer and a few other brave representatives who just raised some questions, for example, about then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's close advisor, who happens to be Anthony Weiner's wife, is Huma Abedin, and her family's reported associations with the Muslim Brotherhood. All the Congresswoman Bachmann and a few other brave souls did was just ask the State Department for clarification, and they were branded even by fellow Republicans as out of line and Islamophobic and so forth. So that makes other people skittish to touch this whole issue.
Yeah, but Joe, you're a straight shooter and the author of 2 great books, and you tell it like it is. What happened to honesty and integrity as being a senator or a congressman? And let me paraphrase this. Our congressman from Idaho, Mike Simpson, I hold his feet to the fire because he was the one that initiated and wrote the letter of condemnation against Michelle Bachmann, and I personally hold that against Mike Simpson because I think it's something he should apologize for. They're not looking at the total picture, are they, Joe?
No, you're absolutely right. He should apologize not only to the people of his district and of Idaho, but also to the American people, because all that Congresswoman Bachmann and again the others like Congressman Gomer, who I've had the privilege of meeting in person, I've met both of them in person and talked to them, but all they were trying to do was raise some issues and raise some questions, and they're not getting any answers, just like we're not getting any answers to what happened in Benghazi, both before and after the tragedy. And when you press the administration on these matters, you either get stonewalling or you get the comment that Obama made last week about, quote, phony scandals. Well, I don't think the loss of life of 4 brave Americans, including our ambassador to Libya, Ambassador Stevens, that might have resulted from inadequate security, failure to go in and help try to rescue at least some of them during the 8 hours of fighting there, and then the cover-up afterwards in Benghazi is a phony scandal. And the same thing regarding the Muslim Brotherhood. We instead of just staying out of the whole situation when Mubarak was being challenged, Obama got on TV day after day, said that Mubarak, our ally of 30 years, had to go, and then his administration tilted in favor of the Muslim Brotherhood. So what do we have now? We have actually hatred of the United States by both sides. The Islamists don't trust us because they think we somehow were involved in what they call the coup against the Muslim Brotherhood-backed President Morsi, and the secularists and nationalists who filled the streets in Cairo before Morsi was removed don't trust us because they thought we were in bed with the Muslim Brotherhood. So we have the worst of both worlds.
Joe, all this turmoil, all these stories about the Muslim Brotherhood, whether it's the Benghazi, the IRS scandal, or anything going on, all of these different smokescreens really are aiding and abetting this administration to try to slip through everything they can to take away from America's freedom. That's my opinion. I'd like you to say whether I'm right or wrong.
Well, again, I think you're right. I think that they're trying to distract us, and meanwhile, we have increased, unprecedented surveillance of all of our communications. We have an IRS that, on many levels, I mean, it's just preposterous. Not only were they targeting, with the knowledge of high-level IRS officials in Washington, who might have also informed their political counterparts in the White House, of targeting conservative groups, targeting certain pro-Israeli groups for special scrutiny, giving them a hard time and getting tax-exempt status. But the IRS is going to be enforcing Obamacare. And what agency, among others, employees, are asking for exemption for themselves from Obamacare? The IRS. You couldn't make this stuff up.
You know, Joe, when you look at the total picture as to what this administration did in the first 4 years, and now with unfettered power, basically with the stroke of a pen on executive orders, etc., and his term investments, which means nothing more than taxation, how afraid are you as an author and a political pundit and looking at this administration, how afraid are you that our days with our Constitution and our value system are limited?
Well, in both my books, Global Deception, the UN Stealth Assault on America's Freedom, and also the more recent book, Lethal Engagement, Barack Hussein Obama, the United Nations, and Radical Islam, you'll see that I'm very afraid, particularly in the Lethal Engagement book, where some of my predictions about the direction of our foreign policy, as Iran gets much closer than ever to a nuclear arms capability, as the Middle East turns into a cesspool with Islamists trying to gain control wherever they can, and the faulty policy of, quote, engagement with our enemies that has led to some of these terrible consequences. I have a lot of fear for where we're going. And I am concerned about the erosion of rights that we've taken for granted. First Amendment right of free speech, which the Obama administration has kind of been negotiating away by bits and pieces with the Islamists at the United Nations, and potentially our Second Amendment rights to bear arms and defend ourselves is in potential jeopardy.
Joe, when you look at the situation in the Middle East, and you look at the Muslim Brotherhood basically crawling underneath the same quilt with Hamas, and you look at the flamethrowers around the area, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, Syria, and all the other troublemakers, and then you look at our lone ally over there, Israel. Boy, I'll tell you, they've got to be playing John Wayne right now because it doesn't seem like anybody's really going to run to their rescue.
Well, and tonight, presumably, there's supposed to be the beginning of talks between the Palestinians and Israeli negotiators on really it's almost like the talks about the shape of the table, as they used to say about the Vietnamese negotiations, because all they're going to do is get together to talk about what they're going to talk about. And yet, as Secretary of State John Kerry is heralding this as great progress. And he is reported to be intending at a dinner that might be held tonight at the State Department with negotiators from both sides. He's reported to be reading a statement that pretty much lines up with the Palestinian Arab League and President Obama's own public declaration that Israel should negotiate from the pre-1967 lines, which are indefensible. So, this administration is doing what it can to really bend over backwards to get the favorable optics of resumption of negotiations, and selling Israel and throwing them under the bus to do so.
Joe, if all of a sudden this afternoon you had a national audience on every single network at a prime time, 6 p.m., and you could tell the American people what they need to be watching for, how they have to stop this naive attitude, how they have to pay attention to what this administration is doing, what would be the key points of your speech to tell the American public they've got to wake up and they got to be observant?
Well, I think what I would try to do is connect for the viewers or listeners the catastrophic direction that Obama is taking the country, particularly, and my focus has been in foreign policy, to their everyday lives. I mean, we see the price of oil going up, which translates into higher gasoline prices because of the turmoil in the Middle East. We see jihadists flooding into Syria as we dither around and support the opposition without knowing who we're really supporting, even talking about giving them arms. Libya is imploding, and all of this is creating turmoil in a very volatile part of the world, not only driving up the price of oil and affecting our day-to-day economic lives, but also creating a further breeding ground for terrorists to use as a launching pad to potentially commit another 9/11. And that's why we need to pay attention to the misdirection of this administration. And again, I sum it up in the two words, lethal engagement. Iran getting much closer to the nuclear bomb because Obama believed he could use his charm offensive in unconditional negotiations with Iran, and we've seen where that's gotten us.
Joe, for what purpose? I mean, underline the word purpose. Why? Why would this administration want to be so weak and so amateuristic in their approach to the world and its problems and leave us vulnerable? There's got to be a reason. Why?
Well, I wish I could psychoanalyze the president. I think some have theorized that he sees the United States historically as part of the problem, that we've been too strong militarily and economically for our own good, and we've used that power in sort of neo-colonialist ways. He divides the world into the oppressors and the oppressed, and he sees the Muslim world, Palestinians, etc., in the category of the oppressed, and he sees the U.S. historically and the West as in the category of the oppressors. And don't forget, when he was running for president the first time, he said that he intended to fundamentally transform America, and that's part of what he had in mind, to
Absolutely.
turn it into just another nation among the nations instead of believing in our exceptionalism.
Absolutely. Joe, we have a caller with a question. Real quick, I'm almost out of time. Go ahead, caller, please.
Yeah, Mr. Klein, if I'm not mistaken, you wrote a book called The Amateur, and
No, that wasn't me. That was it.
Oh, well, I'm sorry then. I've made a terrible mistake, and I'll hang up. I'm sorry. Forgive me.
Joe has written two wonderful books, Lethal Engagement and Global Deception. And, Joe, tell me real quick, the books, can they be obtained at all major bookstores? What's the best source for people?
They could be ordered through the major bookstores, because they've been out for a while, but they certainly are available online at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. But I believe they could be ordered through your listeners' local bookstores as well. And I commend particularly, because of its timeliness, Lethal Engagement, because we're still seeing the consequences of the seeds of engagement with our enemies that Obama planted in the early part of his first term and continues to do so today.
And Joe, final thought here. I want to ask you this question. Are we at a point right now, and I'm not trying to sound negative, I'm just trying to be very blatantly honest, are we at a point right now in America's history, with this kind of leadership or lack of, can we turn this thing around in 2016 with a different direction?
I think, and I hope that we can. We did see it with Ronald Reagan, which turned around this country on many fronts, away from the disastrous course that Jimmy Carter was taking us. I hope the American people will wake up in 2016 and not fall for another Pied Piper and use their heads instead of their emotions in the next presidential election.
And I tell you what, I'm very blessed to have this man on our program. Always a wealth of information. The author of Global Deception and the book Lethal Engagement, Joe Klein. Thank you, Joe. God bless. Please come back and see us in the future.
Okay, it'll be my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Very interesting gentleman, and laying it out on the line about the Muslim Brotherhood. This situation right now in the Middle East, with the Muslim Brotherhood just absolutely not accepting the fact that Morsi is not going to be president, not accepting the fact that they're going to lay down and take any orders, if you will, from the new government, and now teaming up with Hamas, a known and notarized terrorist group. The entirety of the Middle East is now even more of a boiling over teapot. And our administration welcoming and even inviting members of the Muslim Brotherhood to be a part of this administration. And Michelle Bachmann from Minnesota questioned it and said, wait a minute, why are we putting these people in certain aspects of power here in the United States? And right away, and if anybody out there is a fan of Mike Simpson, you can tell him I said this on the radio, I don't care. Our illustrious Mike Simpson from Idaho wrote a letter of condemnation against Michelle Bachmann because she questioned why the Muslim Brotherhood was being appointed to cabinet positions. A letter of condemnation. I think everyone should ask why these people have been appointed to the cabinet, why the Muslim Brotherhood is being catered to. And, Mike, if you're listening, you owe Michelle Bachmann an apology. You called her, me, and others that questioned this McCarthyists. You were wrong. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Did you get comments? Are you going to criticize me? Go ahead.
No. My question is this. Okay, so members of the Muslim Brotherhood being brought into basically the American fold and into the White House, but yet, according to statements made by our illustrious president, he will not deal with terrorists. So we have POW MIA situations, of course, as we all know, Bo Bergdahl, where they've presented the opportunity, hey, let's make a deal. He specifically came out and said, nope, not going to deal with terrorists, but what is he doing within the White House?
Yeah, he's bringing the Muslim terrorists here. And I want to bring up one other point, too, Gina. I find it highly offensive that a Christian minister from Boise, Idaho, doing nothing more than trying to help a building of an orphanage, the funding of an orphanage over in Iran, would be taken prison and put in one of the most heinous prisons anywhere in the world. And our State Department doesn't do one thing and is not doing one thing to get this man out.
Yeah. I'm flabbergasted about all of this stuff. You know, of course, we've got the issues with Hamas and other sects of the terrorist organizations, and he's saying, oh, we're not going to deal with terrorists, but yet then there's all of these other things going on behind the scenes. So please, Mr. President, would you please explain yourself to the American people, because you're contradicting yourself.
You know, Gina, seriously, as a mom, and you're very concerned for your child's welfare and future, and I am a grandparent, and I'm very concerned for my grandkids. I see a capitulation in this country to where we have given in to the bad guys. We are accepting the bad guys. We're promoting the bad guys. And what happened to the American ideal of what's right will be right and what's wrong will be put asunder?
Political correctness.
There you go.
We've got Fred Preston on the phone for you.
Fred, good morning. I've only got a quick minute before the break. Go ahead, please.
That's all it's going to take. I don't want you to hold your breath for Mike Simpson to apologize for Michelle Bachmann. Don't hold your breath, Zeb, because if you do, you'll die.
Yeah, but you know as well as I do I'm right. He should have never sent that letter.
Absolutely. You know as well as I do that I tuned in on that with him, chastising him also. I'm dead set to replace him.
All right.
And he's going to have Brian Smith on.
It'll be next week, Fred, and it will be, hold on just a second, let me check my book real quick. It will be Monday at 10:30.
Okay, good.
All right. Fred, God bless you for your call. Thank you. Thank you. Fred, very, very vocal about things that happened that day with Mike Simpson on our program, and I talked to him, and he called basically me and others McCarthyists on a witch hunt against the Muslims in this administration. Now, let's be real honest here before I take the break. Mike Simpson has a lot of supporters in this area. Now, Mike Simpson has done a lot of good politically for this area. But Mike Simpson has been naive and has overlooked some things, not only for the constituents here, but for the entirety of the United States. Calling me and others McCarthyists because we are very concerned about the Muslim influence in our government was a stupid, frivolous, uneducated thing to do. And you just heard from a man that has devoted his life, Joe Klein, into looking into what's happening with our government internally with the adherents to the Muslim Brotherhood and others being appointed to cabinet positions. He's very concerned. And for our congressman to say something like we're McCarthyists on a witch hunt and then sending a letter to Michelle Bachmann in condemnation, Mike Simpson, you were wrong. I'll be back in 3 minutes.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, thank you very much. In just a moment, we have a lovely lady on the phone, Marita Noon, that's going to be on our show talking about energy. But I think what we're going to do, and Gina, if you'll help me on this, please, I'm going to go ahead with our weather forecast so we don't have to interrupt Marita. And the weather brought to you this hour by Lennox Home Comfort Systems through Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley.
Hey everybody, Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Got a brand spanking new week of you, me, and the same weather we had last week. Sunny today, 90 for the high, 63 for the overnight low, 92 for the high tomorrow, 96 on Wednesday. Enjoy the weather, it's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. Brought to you by Lennox Home Comfort Systems with their air conditioners, etc. right there through Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. MichaelRogersWeather.com. Also, don't forget the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. Oh, they've got the best luncheon specials in town. They got a great senior citizen dinner special, too, at 4 to 6 p.m., Monday through Thursday. And today they're going to have great chicken parmesan, mashed potatoes, super salad. You're going to love it. You're going to love the people. Nice, folks. Great atmosphere at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been wanting to have this lady on the program for a long time because I think she shoots straight when it comes to energy or the lack of, and her name is Marita Noon, and she is the Executive Director for Energy Makes America Great. Good morning, Marita. How are you?
I'm doing great. Good to talk to you. Glad to be with you.
Well, thank you. You're down in the Roadrunner state of New Mexico, are you not?
That is correct. That is where I am, Albuquerque area.
Every day is sunny and nothing but blue skies and rattlesnakes, right?
Well, actually, not too many rattlesnakes, but definitely the blue skies and the sunshine.
Marita, I so appreciate your being on the air, and I'll just say this. Our energy program is nil. This absolutely kindergarten approach to solar and green energy and wind energy is nothing more but a cost factor and a taxation factor to the American public, and it's not addressing the real need of energy. Take it from there. Am I right or wrong?
Well, you are totally right. You know, you said that our energy, you said something along the lines of we don't really have an energy policy in this country. And we do actually have an energy policy in this country. Our president called it all of the above. But sadly, what most of us didn't understand was when he said all of the above, what he meant was none of the below. He is opposed to every source of energy that we have a rich abundance of in this country that actually works, and that would be oil, natural gas, and coal, and instead is creating policy that throws money at projects that are not efficient, effective, or economical, and those are primarily wind and solar. Although my current column this weekend in townhall.com shows 3 different algae biofuel projects that we as taxpayers have thrown millions of dollars at that have yet to produce anything but have enriched the pockets of his friends and donors.
You know, Marita, the one thing that really offended me this last week when I listened to this speech was the fact that he kept talking about, we're going to have more investments into green energy. Investments, baloney. All it is heavier taxes. Am I right?
Well, it's taxes for the taxpayers. It's government spending. Like I said, we've spent billions of dollars on many of these various, what I like to call Obama's green energy crony corruption projects. And so he wants to continue to basically throw good money after bad. Everybody knows about Solyndra, but most people don't realize that there are at least 50 other taxpayer-funded projects that have gone bankrupt or are on the verge of going bankrupt, that are financially troubled. And in his speech in June, his climate action plan speech, he announced that he wants to spend more money on green energy projects when we have seen really no fruit from what we've spent the money on so far. And the other thing is, you see, these green energy projects, for example, last week in Congress, they had a hearing on ethanol because they're talking about reversing or repealing or lowering the standard, what's called the renewable fuel standard, which says how much ethanol must be in our gasoline by certain dates. And what's happened right now is due to droughts last year, the price of corn has gone through the roof, and that's causing ripple effects on everything, including the cost of food and fast food restaurants. Fast food restaurant owners are saying, CEOs were in Congress saying, repeal this renewable fuel standard because it's causing ripple effects on prices everywhere.
You know, you talk about ethanol, and you and I have got a multiplicity of subjects that we need to cover this morning in a short period of time. But this is asinine and crazy. They're wanting to go to an E15, and I've talked to a lot of people in the engine industry, if you will, and they know that we're going to burn up engines. We're not going to have the warranties. We're not going to have the repair, the labor done. Why is this administration so stupid when it comes to ethanol?
Well, it's not, unfortunately, it's not just this administration, because the ethanol mandates were put in place during the Bush years. However, an important thing to realize about this is this was part of the 2005 Energy Policy Act that mandated ethanol. Well, the important thing to realize is back in 2005, there were 2 things in place that have changed today. The first one was it was generally accepted that climate change is a man-made crisis caused by the burning of fossil fuels, which emits carbon dioxide into the air. Now, that whole theory has largely been shot down, although huge segments of the population don't embrace that. But there's holes in that theory all over the place, and the biggest one being that the climate has not warmed in the last 16 years when we're producing more, when the CO2 emissions are the highest they've been in modern times. So that whole theory's kind of been shot down. And the other thing that's changed is that the ethanol standard, the 2005 Energy Policy Act, was passed before the combination of the technologies of horizontal drilling and hydraulic fracturing. Before those 2 were combined, that unleashed the huge abundance of domestic energy supplies that we have today. So the idea of ethanol was twofold. One, it's going to reduce CO2 emissions, which it's since been proven it does not do. And 2, it's going to help us get off of foreign oil, which we don't need ethanol to help us get off of foreign oil. We have so much resource in this country, ethanol is no longer needed. So when you look at that, but this administration is really throwing a lot of money at what they call advanced fueled, and an entire industry has been manufactured based on the government mandates. And as I mentioned earlier, companies are getting our tax dollars that to try to produce this kind of fantasy fuel that doesn't exist yet, made out of wood chips, switchgrass, algae, all kinds of other things. But we don't need this because we have tons of fuel of our own.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned earlier the coal industry, and I want you to pursue that a little bit. I'm absolutely adamant that this administration is going to see electrical rates as Obama promised in his first seeking for election. Right. He said electricity will skyrocket. Well, with the death and burial of the coal industry, electricity rates are going to go in the skyrocketing fashion that he wanted. Where are we going to get the power from? Tell me that.
Well, that's the big problem, and people don't understand this. One of the public regulatory commissioners in my home state of New Mexico, I was in his office a few months back talking with him, and he said to me, the biggest energy crisis that no one is talking about is the closure of nearly 300 coal-fired power plants in the next few years with absolutely nothing online to replace them.
So,
and that's a huge crisis. And the president does, without a doubt, have a war on coal. Part of, as I said, his energy policy is all of the above, but none of the below.
This man has absolutely the most amateuristic attitude towards applying his viewpoint to various policies. When he was really promoting the electric cars and the electric grid was going to be absolutely overpriced, overtaxed, and overworked, does he not look at this? Is he naive, or is this all of a concentrated plan basically to bring down America?
Well, I unfortunately would have to go with the latter. I don't think that he's incompetent or stupid. When you look at these issues, as I do every single day and have been doing for the last 7 years, you have to come to the conclusion that his goal is to ruin America. I write a column every single week that's posted on townhall.com Sunday morning at midnight, so Saturday night, Sunday morning. My column is posted midnight Eastern Time. And my mother is a former English teacher, the author of 40 books, well-known Christian speaker. And so every week when I write my column, I call Mom and I read the column to Mom, and we go over and make sure she understands it. When I would read it to her, she used to say to me, she doesn't any longer because she knows the answer now, but she used to say to me, why are they doing this? They're going to ruin America. And I would say to her, Mom, that's the goal. Because I have a book that I've written called Energy Freedom, and kind of in the title behind the word energy, it says in gray, it kind of says take away, and behind the word freedom, it says take away. And so the idea is that when you take away energy, you take away freedom. And because everything that we do in this country is based on energy. And when you you systematically raise the price of energy, as this president is doing, you then take away the jobs out of this country, you take away the Americans' ability to travel, Americans' ability to keep warm in the winter and cool in the summer. You take away the freedom to have the life that we enjoy today in America, and you send us to really a third world country kind of existence.
You know, Marita, when you look at the insidious plan, perhaps that this man, his administration, and the powers that be above him with the money have for the United States of America, and then you look at our own congressmen and senators, whether it's New Mexico, Idaho, New York, it doesn't make any difference. Why are these people so stupid? Why are these people so inane in their job that they can't see through this smokescreen and represent their constituents and slam their fist down on the table and say, no, enough is enough?
Well, frankly, they did do that back in 2009 on the cap and trade bill that the Senate passed. It was passed in the Senate, and even then, excuse me, I said that backwards. It was passed in the House in June of 2009, and then you may recall in summer of 2009 was a real watershed moment in the history of this country, because that was basically 2009 was the birth of the Tea Party, and in summer of 2009, senators went home, and as I like to say in my speeches, two things happened that both begin with the letter T: town hall meetings and the Tea Party. And those senators went to those town hall meetings, and there was an activated constituency. And the public was angry, if you remember that time frame, and they blasted those senators about the cap-and-trade bill. And those senators went back to Washington, D.C., and cap-and-trade never passed the democratically controlled Senate. Today, there's still not a will. Now what they're talking about is a carbon tax. But there's not a will in Congress, in either house, certainly not in the Republican-controlled House, but not in the Senate either, to pass a carbon tax. And that's why they're going through all these regulations through the EPA, because they can get things passed through the regulatory process that cannot make it through Congress, which is not how our founding fathers envisioned government working.
Marita, when you look at the overall picture, and we're looking at in just the last couple of days, I don't know what diesel is down in New Mexico. I know that it's jumped 20 cents in certain locations here since last Friday. We're seeing well over $4, maybe $4.20 a gallon right now for diesel. Gas is on the upswing. The American public, those that have to get up in the morning, go to work, maybe drive round trips 75, 80 miles to accomplish their job and support their families, the tipping point is here. Financially, they can't afford much more in energy costs because energy reflects in their food, their clothing, and everything else. Aren't we at the chasm right now of almost tipping into the Grand Canyon economically and not getting out?
Yes, we are. But and there's things that could be done about this easily, and eliminating the ethanol mandate is one of those, because ethanol, our gasoline contains up to 10% ethanol in most places, is what the signs say. You can get E15 and even E85 in some places, but because of the price of corn, ethanol is very expensive right now, and it's raising the price of our gasoline. It's amazing. We have the president, his policies are at odds with one another, because he has stated that we need to have a CAFE standard, corporate average fuel economy, of 55 miles per gallon within the next couple of years. I don't recall at the moment the exact year deadline for that. But at the same time, he's mandating increasing use of ethanol, which actually lowers our miles per gallon. And because ethanol doesn't have the same energy density that the petroleum products that gasoline has. And so he's mandating higher MPG vehicles, but at the same time mandating gasoline that provides less MPG. Mm-hmm. He's mandating lower CO2 emissions, but mandating ethanol in the gas, which increases CO2 emissions and does other environmental harm. So we've got a real conflict here, and there are things that can be done. And I hate to think about what the gas prices would be right now if it wasn't for horizontal drilling and hydraulic fracturing that has put so much more oil on the market that it actually has kind of held down the global price of gasoline.
Marita, where's the anger, though? Where's the consumer's anger, the outrage, the slamming of the fist on the desk? Where is the anger to change things? Where is the anger to make the politicians fear us and look at us as we the people? Where is the anger? What happened to it?
It's a good question. I think that part of it is there are so many scandals going on, so many different things that we, the people, are really being called on to address. I mean, I would love it if every one of your listeners today called their congressperson and called their senator and said, repeal the RFS, which stands for Renewable Fuel Standard. It's widely acknowledged in Washington right now that's not going to happen, but that at least modifications could take place. But you see, there's so many of these things, the IRS scandal, Benghazi, on and on, that I think people are weary. They don't even know where to go or what to do. I advise people that because there's so much going on, we, the consumer, the average person, cannot track every single issue. And I advise people you need to find a few groups that address issues, like my group, Energy Makes America Great. We look only at energy issues. And I've been writing this column for townhall.com now once a week for more than 2 years. Last year I wrote 72 columns total in a 52-week year, I mean. And so I write more than one a week frequently when there's issues that need to be addressed. And people are like, how do you come up with a new topic to write on every single week? And I only do energy. But there's so much going on out there. Every week I have probably 3 columns I could write, 3 topics. And I have to kind of go, okay, which one am I going to pick to write on today? And many of them never get addressed. There's so much going on that the average person can't track them all. And that's why it's important for people to pick a few organizations that address issues that you care about, that generally have the viewpoint you have. And then when that organization, such as mine, sends out an email that says, call Congress and tell them X, Y, or Z, then the consumer doesn't have to take the time to study the issue because they trust what that organization is doing. But there's so many issues, it's just hard for people to track with them all. And so I believe that's why we're not seeing the anger, because there's not a single point to focus our anger on.
Let me ask you one final thought here, Marita, and then I've got to have you back so we can really kind of discern wind and solar and the other problems in the energy field today. Yeah. But when you look at the overall picture, and we're at the midway point going into the 2014 elections, Obama still has 3 full years to implement his ideology. Can we overcome this in 2016 with better leadership that understands energy needs for America? Or are we at a tipping point where we can't resolve this problem?
I believe we can. I mean, hope springs eternal, but I believe that the Republicans, and not to say that the Republicans are perfect by any means, but there does seem to be a very clear dividing line on energy issues. And the Republicans are more and more, which I'm very pleased with, talking about energy as a solution. We have 3 basic problems, and there's more, but we have 3 basic problems I think everybody would agree on in this economy. One is we need more jobs. 2 is we need more revenue to the federal coffers. And 3 is our trade balance is totally out of whack. And energy provides the solution to those 3 problems. And the Republicans, more and more, I'm hearing them talk energy, 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 Keystone Pipeline, fracking, drilling, coal. They're exporting LNG. These are all things that the Republicans are talking about, and the Democrats, on the other hand, are talking about a carbon tax, which will drastically hurt the American economy.
I'll tell you, Marita, you are a blessing. The executive director for Energy Makes America Great, Marita Noon, please come back and visit with us real soon. I appreciate your comments.
No, I have a new topic every week. I'd love to be with you as often as you want me.
I'll make sure I follow up on your newsletter, and I'll have you back. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
God bless. Wonderful lady and very well educated with the energy problems in America. And she is the executive director for Energy Makes America Great, Marita Noon. I can't wait to have her back, and we'll go through a complete discussion of all of the idiocies of green energy, wind, solar, etc. Hey, I want to talk a little bit about our major sponsor right now, and that's, of course, our Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers, with free peace of mind tire protection, free lifetime tire and mileage care. I'm telling you, they really take care of you. And like with the brakes, free brake inspections, free estimates, same-day service. They are the best when it comes to a best brake value promise. Professionally trained technicians, premium quality parts, over 30 years experience, the best brake warranty in the industry. They really take care of you. Safe driving? You bet. At your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Stop in and see Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike in Buell, Mike in Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Lane and Rupert, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Wow. Some really great people this morning on the program. Marita Noon, Joe Klein, Catherine Glenn Foster, and also Doug Kellogg with the National Taxpayers Union. It takes a lot of work to put this together, and I want to say thanks again to my lovely wife, Deanne, and then also to Gina for making this program. This is the only program that's going to have all those people on it, believe me. We put a lot of time and effort into that. Tomorrow, what we're expecting, and I underline the word expecting, Gina's grinning, we never know what to expect on live radio. Sometimes people forget their notices that they're on the air. We're expecting Senator Jim Risch to be talking to us from Washington. We're expecting Ryan Morrow, terror expert, to be on at 9:30. And we're expecting Dr. History, and he's always there at 10:06. And then, thanks to Doug Johnson, I got to tell you this. We lined up a former radio and TV commentator by the name of Vince Coakley. He is a very, very nice man, a black conservative from North Carolina, and we're going to talk to him directly, poignantly, and bluntly about race relations in this country before, during, and since the George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin trial. It's going to be blunt, it's going to tell it like it is, and you don't want to miss it, because I'm not going to mix any words, nor will this man. He's a very nice gentleman, Vince Coakley, on tomorrow at 10:30, so from North Carolina. Gina, I hope that you have a very nice day sitting there trying to recoup from all the fun and frivolity of going to Lagoon. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon.
It will be, and then tonight I'm just waiting on word from the birthday boy on what he wants for dinner.
Whose birthday?
My brother's.
I forgot your brother, yes. You mean you're going to cook what he wants for his birthday? Everything?
So, the one day of the year where he gets what he wants.
And what do you think it's going to be?
Oysters, either pan-fried or sautéed in butter with garlic.
Oysters?
Oysters. He loves oysters. Hey, I cook them for him. I do not eat them. I can't stand them, but that's what he loves, and so I will cook him oysters.
They're slippery and slimy.
They're gross. They're nasty. It's like swallowing snot. I would rather...
Oh, why did you do that?
Well, it's true.
You know, my grandma used to make oyster stew on Christmas Eve.
Oh, gross. Gross.
Yeah, and I used to do everything I could to avoid putting one of those in my bowl. I'd eat the broth, but not those slippery, slimy oysters.
I don't like oysters in any way, shape, or form. I don't even like the taste or the flavor. My aunt does an oyster stuffing, which my brother absolutely loves, and I refuse to eat.
They're bottom feeders.
They're gross, but, you know, some people love them, and so if it's his birthday, so if that's what he wants, that's what he'll get.
Well,
I'll make myself something different.
Happy birthday, Oyster King of Magic Valley. I'll see you tomorrow. All right, God bless. See you tomorrow morning, 8:06, up at the ranch. The way things were, the way things ought to be. Take care.